So, Johnny Tudor, we got talking this week about some of the characters that we had worked with over the years. Now, Eric Monster Hall, he was my publisher. Was he your plugger or was he your publisher as well?
You know, he was the publisher I was with, but I recorded for Eddie Kasner Music. And they had a label called President Records.
Right.
And he plugged for them, see?
Right.
That's the first time I came across him. But I used to see him after that when he had his own radio show down in Radio Essex or something. And I used to get online with him and have a chat. He was a hell of a boy. Yeah. Made me laugh. Yeah. Always the same. Yeah. Monster. He called everybody Boobler. I didn't know what the hell Boobler was. I asked my Jewish friends. They said it's an endearment.
Boobler. Yeah, because when I knew him, he was Eric Monster. He always had a big cigar. Monster. It's going to be big. It's going to be big. It's going to be big. Boobler. It's going to be big. He had a Kevin Keegan curly perm.
Yes, right. Yeah.
But he was so well connected. He was so well connected. You know, like he actually put me together.
Didn't he have something to do with the football team? Didn't he manage one or something, or manage some footballers?
Yeah. Well, after music, he became an agent. He became a footballer's agent, and
all right.
You know, so he knew all the footballers. Yeah, but he got me involved with a guy called Mark London, who was a wonderful songwriter and producer who had worked with Lulu. He did "To Sir with Love" and those sort of songs.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So he was all, you know, he had these.
He was always in and about. Yeah. He was a character. He was a wheeler and dealer.
And there were a lot of wheelers and dealers when we started out in the music business, particularly with you and Tin Pan Alley, wasn't there?
Oh, Tin Pan Alley. I looked that up the other day. Why it was called Tin Pan Alley? Apparently, it started in America off Broadway stuff in the 30s, and it was because all the publishers are all around that area. And there was all these folks banging on, blinking old tinny pianos, you know, knocking out songs, you know. And so they called it Tin Pan Alley, and it stuck.
Yeah.
And then they all moved to the Brill Building, as you know, after that, where they all went into the Brill Building. So because Denmark Street, it was called Tin Pan Alley because that's where all the publishers were.
Yeah.
You know, if I remember, there was Kasner Music, there was Southern Music, there was Campbell and Kennelly, there was loads of them. They're all in that little street.
Yeah, and then the writers would go in and they'd, like in the Brill Building, they used to work from 9 till 5, didn't they? And just turn out these songs, and they were people like Neil Sedaka, Carole King, I think Neil Diamond worked there as well. So the same sort of thing happened in Britain as well.
That's right. I remember funny enough, I went up to London not long ago, and of course it's all been, not demolished, but it's totally different. And there's no publishers there anymore. The only thing left is a little plaque on the wall that says, "This was Tin Pan Alley." On the wall. And then, do you know what's still there? Regent Sound. I don't know if you ever went there. It was a little place where you could go and make an acetate. For the people who don't know what acetate is, it's like a demo disc, isn't it? You could make in a booth.
Yes.
And lots of people went there. Apparently the Beatles made acetates there. And it's still there. Wow. People still using it.
So you record, and instead of going on to, like an MP3 or a WAV, or they do these
straight onto wax.
Straight onto wax. And you could take it home and play it to your mum on a record player.
That's right.
Yeah.
Those were the days, right?
Those were the days. All right, can you remember, what other characters did you like really stuck in your mind?
Well, there was plenty of characters there. I mean, for Eddie Kasner, for a start, was the right character. He escaped Nazi Germany when he was like about 16, and he came over to Britain, and I think his parents died in Auschwitz, but there was another wheeler and dealer. Big cigar again, the same guy, you know.
Yeah.
I remember going into his office once, and he sat behind this big desk with his cigar. This guy comes and he says, "This looks like the headquarters of Smirch." And he said, "My boy, I'm going to make you a star." He actually said that to me. He said, "This song's going to do for you what the portrait of my love did for Mac Monroe." I was still waiting. But he was a kid. He bought Rock Around the Clock for $250. How much did that make him?
Oh my
gosh. That one song.
Oh my gosh.
He was a real character.
And the companies you've mentioned now, they still go, don't they? There is still, Kasner Music, yeah. Southern Music is still there, but it's become sort of quite corporate. Well, in the early days, these guys were not outlaw. Well, maybe they were outlaws, but they were definitely one-man bands, weren't they?
They were. Yeah. They were. I remember when I recorded for Kasner, I mean, you had to sue Kasner to get your royalties. Because I think Eddie Grant actually did sue him.
Really?
Because he was with the Equals at the time, and they were like they got to number one with "Baby Come Back," And he said, I can't get my royalties. I'm going to sue him. He said, he left in the end. And another funny story, I went to London once on the train to do some broadcasts in Aeolian Hall.
Mm-hmm.
It was something for Through Till 2, one of those programs. And I had all my music with me. It was a big orchestra and that. And I left them on the train. I lost all my music, right? So I get to London. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So the producer, Brian Willie, said, well, get down the library downstairs and pick 5 songs you know. So I went down. That's how I did the broadcast. Months later, my Uncle Benny rings me up. Now, Benny used to be a sax player with the Oscar Rabin band. And he said, John, he said, I got some music here. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, a big package came through the door. And it was all your charts, he said. What they'd done, they'd opened them and they'd seen that some of my music had been written by an arranger in Southern and sent it all there. So I got all my music back.
Isn't that fantastic?
Oh, I divert. So anyway, I get another call from my Uncle Ben. He said, Bob Kingston, the boss, wants to meet you. I said, what for? He said he saw you on Opportunity Knocks and he's interested in signing you. I said, I'm already signed to Kasner. He said, well, you could come and meet him anyway and have a chat. I said, okay. So I go and meet him. He said, oh, you'll never get any money out of Kasner. He said, let me have a look at your contract. I'll get you out of it. So he did. So they're all like wheeling and dealing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. There was a guy called Dick James who...
Dick James, aye.
No, he said...
He was next door to Kasner, he was.
Well, that's the thing.
Northern Songs.
They were all the same. And you know, when Epstein, got the Beatles a recording contract and then a publishing deal, I think Dick James set up the company for them, the Northern Songs.
Yeah.
And in those days, you didn't used to make an awful lot of money out of your own songs, did you? The publisher used to take the lion's share. But the interesting thing was, and it's funny because whether they were rogues or whether that was the norm at the time, but obviously he set up the publishing company. He did great things the Beatles did great things for him. But then
yes, Dorothy Squires told me that because he sang Robin Hood, Dick James. Right. You know that song? That's it. That's Dick James. Robin Hood. Right. And he was skinned. He had no work, and the publishing was doing no good. And everybody turned the Beatles down. And they walk into Northern Songs. He had nothing to lose. He said, "You're all right," and made him a millionaire.
Yeah.
Unbelievable luck.
Yeah, but as you say, being in the right place, being in Tin Pan Alley was the right place. Then he came across, Reg Dwight, Elton John, signed him to a publishing deal. And he was, those guys were able to, because they weren't big corporates with lots of people to answer for, they could say, we're going to spend, this kid's going to be a star. Going to do for you what you did for Macman. Yeah. But he did with Elton. He recorded the album, and then he released the record on DJ. He set up his own record company. They were able to do that, and they were big characters. Now then, years later, I think Elton had to sue him for royalties to get back royalties.
Well, they did the same to Gordon Mills. I think Gilbert O'Sullivan sued him. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because what he'd done, he'd signed half of Gilbert O'Sullivan's songs to himself.
Right.
Or taken 50% or something. Anyway, he sued him and he had to mortgage his house to sue. And he could have lost his house, but he won. Yeah. He won the case. Yeah. No, they were all pretty warm, those guys. I mean, I think that was the game, you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
But you remember when a big hoo-ha blew up and they were all bribing disc jockeys and that? Payola, yeah. Well, the funniest thing is, one of the pluggers, whose name shall remain anonymous, who plugged for for Kasner, he went into Aeolian Hall, the BBC, Shepherd's Bush, with a wire, and he got all this information about these people taking backhanders, and he shocked them all, and for a few thousand quid. Mm-hmm. Somebody once said he sold his soul for 2,000 quid.
Yeah. But it was a very different world. It was the Wild West of music, wasn't it?
But usually, like you say, they used to get behind the artist and they would stick with him, wouldn't they? Mm-hmm. So if that was a flop, we'll make another one. They didn't go, "Oh, you had one, get out." Yeah. There was more of a hands-on kind of feel. It was more friendly anyway. You'd go in the office, you'd say hello to this one, that one. I remember. Do you remember a double act called Hudson Ford?
Oh yes, I loved Hudson Ford.
Well, Hudson Ford used to do all the demos for me in Southern, because Southern had a little recording studio downstairs, only an 8-track it was. And before they let you record anything proper, they get these two boys in and we'd put a load of demos down and he'd say, "Oh, that's good, we'll record that one then." Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and they made it themselves in the end, didn't they? A couple of hits, I think.
Dig up the wrong way to pick up the pieces.
That's it. That's the one.
So obviously Dick James was a little bit before my time, but I heard all the stories because I was with Rocket and Elton John and all of that.
Yeah.
But I was signed by Larry Page.
Oh, Larry Page, the Teenage Rage.
The Teenage Rage. Now, Larry, he was such a character. He we should maybe get him on. He lives in Australia. I keep saying we should get these people on. We haven't got time. We're too busy talking ourselves. But Larry used to tell me all of these stories. He signed me. He actually signed a Welsh singer called Jade from Tonrefa. And,
I remember my father played for her once.
Lovely girl singer. And then he came down to the TV program. I gave him some of my demos, and he signed me to. But then you'd hear all the stories. He used to manage the Trogs, and he used to manage the Kinks. Now
he found the Kinks.
Found the Kinks,
and he took him to Eddie Kasner.
Right.
And there's all those stories there. Go on, carry on.
No. Well, and the thing is about Larry, he looked great. He had these great big sort of they were sunglasses, but they had proper glasses instead, and they wrapped around his face. And again, he'd quite often have. By my time, he didn't have a cigar, but in the old days, he had a cigar. But he told me things like he'd go to. They went to Las Vegas. And the Kinks are doing really well. The British invasion's going on. He's met outside the hotel by a big limousine, by someone with Italian connections.
Oh, the boys.
Yeah. So he gets into the car and, they say, Larry, we like you. We think you're great. I'm gonna set up a music company, and I'm gonna give you the company. He said, and then we're gonna do great things together, And obviously, once you're in that conversation, what do you do? Because, the wrong word could lead to consequences.
Not only that, once they do something for you, you owe them.
Yeah. And I think the first thing he said was, the first thing I'd like to say is thank you very much for your company. Thanks very much. And then I think he got on the next plane out, so...
Don't blame you. But I remember meeting a girl once on a cruise, Barbara Stango, her name was, and she'd been connected with the boys. I'd have been married to one of them or something. And she said to me, I can get you into the States, John. I can get you the green card. I said, how would you do that? She said, the boys will get it for you. I knew what she meant, you see. She said, but you will owe them. I said, for God's sake. And it just frightened the life out of me. Because they will. They'll own you. Once they do something, they own you.
Yeah. And that favour will be called in at some stage, won't it?
Be
called in. But, you think, Penny Farthing Records, that was Larry Page's record company, and that was next door to DJM, and they all knew each other. You mentioned the underworld, because, in the 60s and 70s, the Craze... who we've seen on TV and in documentaries, they had the nightclubs and everything. It was very glamorous underworld. Yeah,
and it was all that area of the West End, Did you ever go to the 142 Club above Francis Day and Hunters?
No.
It was originally called Eddie Cox had it. He was a music publisher, and he sold it to Ronnie. He was married to Barbara Windsor. Ronnie Knight, I
know. Yeah.
I mean, he was big time gangster.
So was it
Barbara Windsor?
Accordingly, no. Was it what we need to say something now? Allegedly.
Allegedly. No, you can say it because he's written it in his own book.
Oh, okay. Well, there we are. He's a gangster.
Because what happened was his brother got murdered or something, and they found this guy called Italian Tony who done it, and he went to jail for it. And then when he got out of jail, he was found murdered. See, and it's alleged. It was something to do with Ronnie, but we don't know for sure. But he was definitely involved with the Matt Spring robbery. But I diverse. He had this nightclub above Francis Day and Hunters on the corner of Denmark Street. With the music publishers.
Yeah.
And it was always full of gangsters and singers, and a couple of girls of the night. I remember seeing Matt Monroe sitting on a stool. He was so small, his legs were swinging like this. Did you ever go to the La Gioconda?
No.
There's a little coffee shop on the corner. Everybody went to the La Gioconda. And there was a little Italian place where everybody used to go for a scallop of veal. It was mad, You'd meet all these people. Mike Leander became around. Jeff Stevens. You remember Jeff Stevens?
Yes.
Winchester Cathedral?
Yeah.
He wrote a song for me. I think it was the one I went to Gibraltar and sang the Gibraltar Festival. He wrote that with Bob Kingston, who was then the MD for Southern Music.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, great.
Because when I was, obviously I was a little bit next, maybe a couple of years later on after you going to London, I was very young at the time, so I was quite well protected. Although my the record company was on 101 Wardour Street, which is right in the middle of Soho, and in 1973, 1974, it was there were sites I've never seen before and I've never seen since. To be honest, Johnny, because it's all been cleaned up now. But I used to go to like the Marquee Club where all
the Marquee,
yeah, the big rock, the Rolling Stones would be playing there. I would see Kiki play there, and then then I used to go because of people like John Peel. I used to go when I was in London. He'd say, "Do you want to come and hear this band or this group?" And they'd take me, and it would always be in a little club in Soho somewhere because there were lots of them. You'd have to go down these little stairs, before you got to the club in the basement. I remember a band called the Persuasions, who were like a 4 or 5 piece a cappella band from New York, and it just blew me away. So what was the Roy Woods had a band called Eddie and the Falcons. And they were just really small clubs, but they used to do these like I suppose for the record and radio industry, wasn't it? Sort of like this is the new album, this is the new act, come and see them, and I used to go along as well. I mean, I was a kid.
It started off with the Two Eyes coffee bar, of course. That was before my time. That was Tommy Steels and people, and I always used to think it was the Two Eyes. It was the letter I. It was Two Eyes. The Two Eyes, and a lot of them did it. Then Marty Wilde. I see Marty still on the road.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
My friend Craig Douglas. I think he's retired now. But all these characters, they were fantastic. I mean, I'm just thinking some of the other guys at that street. Jeff Stevens wrote some fantastic stuff. He did Winchester Cathedral, which was #1 in the States. Mm-hmm. And he wrote. I found a book, while we were talking about this place, I found this. Do you know Mike Reed? He was a disc jockey.
Yeah, Radio 1. Yeah.
Yeah, he's written that. 1,000 Years of London, Denmark Street.
Oh, can you push it up to the screen so we can have a little look at it?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to you because it's got some fantastic stuff in it. It's got stuff about Kazna. It's probably got what's name's name in it. Larry Page, A Teenage Rage.
Yeah.
They're all in here.
Amazing.
Amazing. Fantastic.
Will we ever see their like again?
No, it's a different world now, man. It's all done in your bedroom. Yeah. And it's lost the feel, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember, I don't know about you, but I used to record in Southern. I recorded one of my records in an 8-track studio where they overdubbed everything. So it was Bill Shepherd was the MD. Mm-hmm. Do you remember Bill Shepherd? Mm-hmm. He was the Bee Gees MD.
Yeah.
And he put down the rhythm section first,
mm-hmm.
and then he put down the strings. Then they all got out because it was a small little room. Then they brought in the brass, and then last but not least, me and the girl singers. And then they whack it all together, and it's a record. You know what I mean? But it was fun, you sit like you're sitting in your room doing your bloody send off to somebody. You don't see anybody.
No. I remember Larry said it's funny. These stories came back. He booked, because people became hot, and the arrangers became hot. So the Bee Gees is stuck in my mind for some reason. But anyway, this new arranger had become the new hot property. So Larry booked him for a session for an act, and
wasn't Keith Mansfield, was it?
Oh, I don't know.
He did all the Love Affair hits.
Oh, right. Well, anyway, this guy basically we got the orchestra in. So they're all sat there, and they play the record, and it's a 3-minute record, 2 minute 20 seconds in. Nothing's happened because the arranger has decided that the strings should come in for the last 30 seconds. Well, not that the money Larry Page was paying him. He said, "You write some more at the beginning. I want my money's worth." Yeah. Never mind the quality, feel the width. You wanted to get.
Well, do you know what? I remember when I think it was definitely Keith Mansfield. He did all the Love Affair hits, and he did Bonnie and Clyde. Right? Bonnie and Clyde. And Kazna pulled him in to do one of my records, right? So he said to him, "That's the same thing as you just said." He said, "Okay, Keith, I want a great arrangement. I want strings. I want everything, but I do not want glockenspiel, 3 notes, 15 quid." He's on the record. He plays all the way through. You couldn't make these characters up.
Oh, brilliant stuff. All right. Well, look, the book's still selling. We did a nice little chat about the book last week.
Yeah, it's doing okay. And also, my publisher wrote to me and they said they got a deal where they can do a thing with Amazon, where normally Amazon only put 3 connecting words. I don't know what they call it now. It's like if you put a word in and something's doing your book, it brings it up.
Yeah.
But they've done a deal where they can get 10, so they're going to start that this week. Who knows?
Brilliant.
Maybe even better. And I see that the Dorothy Squires book still selling as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, there we are.
All right.
No, we could talk about those books in Denmark Street forever, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Larry Page from Port Talbot.
Larry Page, Larry Davis, I think originally it was. Lawrence Davis became the teenager age.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, I know you've got to rush off and see the grandchildren, so it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Denmark Street. And all the best.
I'm going to make you a star, kid. I'm going to make you a
star.